Hi everyone, and welcome to the Publishing Performance Show. Today I'm delighted to be joined by William Gasner, who's the founder and the CMO of Stack Influence. So welcome to the show, William.
Thank you for having me on, Teddy.
Well, I thought I'd always try and start with a relatively big question. So why should authors care about influencer marketing?
Great question. So first off, influencer marketing spans quite a variety of different categories, right? When most people think of influencer marketing, they think of celebrities, the Kardashians, etc., people with millions of followers on social media. But there's a spectrum to different types of influencers. To kind of dive in a bit deep into this, you have the celebrities on one side, but what's now the trend of the market has evolved into collaborating with smaller creators, which now the industry calls nano or micro influencers, people with maybe only a few thousand followers. And why an author should really care about either working with a celebrity or working with a smaller creator is an authentic way to get the word out about their product, right? I like to, when influencers are truly authentic, it's basically word of mouth marketing at scale. And I always, when I'm talking actually about influencers, I usually use books as an example because when I get my book recommendations, a lot of times I get them from my friends, right? And I ask my friend whether I'm interested in a fictional book or a nonfiction book, whoever's really interested in that topic, I'll get their advice on it. And that's my trusted acquaintance. They might not be a professional in the space. They might not be an author themselves. But I know that they really love reading these types of things, and I trust their opinion on it. And that is the essence of influencers in general. And think just scaling those out so that you can get a much larger reach in the social media platforms. So that's basically why someone should really pursue it in 2025 as an author. And it's just an authentic way to get the word out and promote your brand. And we can dive deeper into any of those topics if you'd like.
Yeah, of course. So, because I always think of influencers as, girls in bikinis showing off their bums, like, But what does a micro influencer or a nano influencer look like? What sort of figures are we looking at for their following count? And are they on different platforms, or give us 100%. The basics?
Great question. So the standard definitions, and depending on who you talk to or what company promotes this, they can vary. But on average, mega influencers, which are the celebrity types, are 1 million plus. Yeah. Then you have macro influencers, which are usually defined as 100,000 to 1 million. Yeah. Micro influencers as less than 100,000 followers, and nano influencers as less than 10,000 followers.
Okay.
Now, the advantage, again, to working with these smaller creators, which is actually what my platform Stack Influence focuses on, is that they're more trustworthy, and at the end of the day, they're more real, you could say. And when I say real, it's an interesting definition. I'm not talking about AI necessarily, but what's happened in the celebrity world, which is how influencing in essence started, is that consumers started to realize that celebrities or people with millions of followers were getting paid crazy amounts of money to promote brands, right? They didn't necessarily care about the brand. And at the end of the day, as a consumer or a social media user, we're bombarded by content consistently. And we don't necessarily, it's hard to know what to trust these days, right? You have fake news, you have ads, you have these huge kind of influencers who are promoting products and getting paid tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes hundreds or millions of dollars. And at the end of the day, we want real, truthful, authentic kind of promotions to us if we're going to actually be swayed by some sort of social media post to buy something, right? Now, smaller creators, these nano and micro influencers, why they're effective is because a lot of times they're not getting paid a huge amount of money to promote a product. Many times they're not even getting paid anything. They're just getting a free product, right? So they're doing kind of promotions in a more authentic way, doing a promotion, putting in effort because they actually truly believe in the product that they're kind of promoting. I like to basically redefine these smaller creators more than an influencer, but more of a passion promoter, right? Yeah. if you're passionate about fiction books, right, or fiction novels, like you're willing a lot of times to promote something that you actually really love, that you're passionate about, and you don't have to get paid a huge amount of money to do it because it's something you love to do. You might do it for free, and you might automatically do it on your social profiles anyway, right? So you might as well get some free stuff in the meantime, or get some monetary benefits, or be rewarded for doing it. And that's true influence in essence, right? It's that the oldest and most powerful type of marketing in the history of the world, which is word of mouth marketing. So basically the idea with these smaller creators is that you can really tap into this trusted audience. Now, the difficulty here is that you do need to work with a lot of them. They have a limited follower base, right? If you're dealing with a nano-influencer with only a few thousand followers, you're not going to have the most effective promotion by only working with a handful of them. So you really want to scale them up. And that's where a challenge comes into play. And one thing that our platform helps with, but basically the strategy behind the nano micro influence, even if you're doing it yourself, is try to find 100 or maybe a few hundred of them. If you're really trying to scale, you can go after thousands. But basically, if you think about it and you aggregate 100 people with 10,000 followers each, you're getting a total reach of 1 million, right? And now you're getting that celebrity reach, but you're aggregating a lot more of these higher engagement, trustworthy promotions. You're diversifying your risk across a lot more people. At the end of the day, sometimes social promotions can be hit or miss. You're kind of subjected to an algorithm to dictate how far your social post gets seen. And so if you can diversify that risk across a lot more social promotions as opposed to putting all your eggs in one basket, you're going to just have a much better ROI and a much more effective campaign.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because a lot of the influencers that people think about first, like the ones you're talking about, Kardashians and people like that, they can essentially promote any product. But are the ones you're talking about, do they generally stick to particular niches?
Absolutely. Yeah. So so our platform is focused on what the industry calls product seeding or gifting campaigns, right? People willing to do things in exchange for a free product. Now, You're not going to do any sort of promotion or every single promotion for any given product, right? It has to be a product that you actually truly care about. So there are some products that don't necessarily work super well if you have a very thin or niche amount of people who are interested in your product and you can't scale it out. So micro nano influencers aren't always effective for any single product. Beauty products work fantastic, but athlete's foot cream, people don't want to go on social media and talk about foot fungus, right? And then there's certain niches, specifically in kind of the novel or book industry. As an example, someone came to us recently and wanted to promote a book, very niche hiking book on a specific trail in northern Canada, right? And it's like, there's only a few amount of people who are going to be interested in reading this book and are going to be planning this hike at this specific time. Yes, there's someone who probably would promote that and might be absolutely amazing at promoting it, right? That's true passion if you can find those people, but finding them and aggregating them kind of in mass may be very difficult for you to accomplish, right? Versus a book that might apply to a wide range of people who are interested in promoting it, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, books work really, really well for influencers, because at the end of the day, you also want not only the social profile to be authentic, but you want the promotion also to be kind of utilized in an authentic way, in the sense that like integrate into your natural lifestyle. And a book is a very natural thing to post, right? Like you could be drinking your morning coffee and reading a book. You could be relaxing at the end of the day. You could be on a beach reading a book, right? So the content that's produced is, again, more real or more authentic. And that at the end of the day converts better, as opposed to being something like a bit more shocking, where it's like pictures of your kids and you doing things with your normal life and videos. And then all of a sudden something that is like you talking about foot fungus on your social profile, you know?
When you're finding influencers to promote books, are you generally looking for influencers who promote books generally, or are you trying to find like adjacent influencers? Like, for example, if you're a romance author, would you be looking for someone who does like romance or poetry or maybe even sex type influence things? Or are you really looking for people who promote books?
Great question. So we find that a lot of people also think that you need to find someone who is their social profile is only about one specific niche, right? If you're promoting a makeup product, you're promoting to someone who's a makeup artist. If you're talking about a book, you're promoting someone who's like only posts like maybe a fantasy book. You're promoting to only people who are like promoting fantasy things consistently, right? And that works. And I recommend doing that, right? That is your niche audience and it's a targeted audience and it can be very effective. But influence, especially in the nano micro world, will get people who are just a normal person who loves a fantasy book or who loves a romantic novel, right? That person actually to their audience, most likely the people who are following them are their friends, their family, people with like-minded ideas. And so they actually, again, are trusted when they promote, and they don't have to necessarily, their whole essence and their whole profile has to be catered to that specific niche, right?
Yep.
Now, if you're dealing with a celebrity or someone you're paying tens of thousands of dollars, you might want to go very, very specific of like, I'm not going to promote my fantasy product to some random celebrity. I'm only going to do it to someone who is only specifically aligned exactly with my brand, right? Because again, you're putting a lot of risk in one person. But you'd be surprised, like we've done campaigns with certain books that the influencers that had kind of like their profile didn't necessarily paint the picture of the novel's niche, and they converted at a much higher rate than even some of the people who were, you could think, more aligned with that niche of product or that profile was perceived to be, if that makes sense.
That's really interesting because I think you wouldn't necessarily just want someone who's promoting books all the time, but who has that trusted audience within that adjacent niche. I think that is really interesting. One thing you touched on just before that point was you talked about some of these nano influencers, especially promoting books essentially for a free book or maybe even quite a small budget. Now, obviously, when you've got these huge audiences, you're looking at it being quite expensive, and I'm guessing the amount of money you pay goes up quite a lot when you go to quite higher amounts. But what sort of budget should we be looking at for like different levels of amounts of followers?
Great question. So the average going rate is about $10 for every 1,000 followers someone has. So it goes up quite rapidly, right? But again, there's multiple ways to monetize someone. So
sorry, and that would just be for like one post. Sorry,
that's just one post. Yeah. So again, $10 for, you got 1,000 followers. If you got 10,000 followers, right, you're looking at a few $100s potentially. And you'll be like, people charge rates across the board. So that's kind of industry standard, but like, you'll talk to one person with 5,000 followers and they'll say $50, and then the next person will say $500. So there's a lot of negotiation that goes on in the monetary payment world, especially as you get higher up in the rings. But finding people who are incentivized by your product is the most authentic form, right? Because it means that they actually really care about what they're promoting. And it's going to be more cost effective for you to actually scale it out, which is kind of the name of the game. Now, there's alternative ways to also compensate someone. You can incentivize them through providing commissions on the sales that they actually drive. You can reward them for the results of the social promotions. Maybe instead of paying them $1,000 for every follower they have, or $10 for every 1,000 followers they have, you reward them $10 for how many people actually see the post, right? Because social media has also changed in the past few years to where now follower base can sometimes be a vanity metric. People focus on it a lot because it used to be kind of like the only thing that really mattered. But now you could have 100,000 followers and literally have 1,000 people who see your post when you do something, because social media only shows it to those who are engaged. And you could have 3,000 followers and also have 1,000 people who see it because your audience loves the content that you produce. And now, even with the advent of TikTok and Instagram Reels, your post can also, you could have 100 followers and you can get a post that gets millions of views. So it comes down to actually the content you produce now and how engaging that content is. And if it's really engaging and really enticing, social media platforms are going to really show it beyond your follower base, and you can get viral posts. And that's the kind of advantage to trying to work with smaller creators and incentivizing them in ways to reward them for the content that they actually produce.
Yeah, that's so interesting. With the talking about the posts that go viral, obviously there's different ways that that could happen. But when you're thinking about creating that content, is there anything that the authors should be doing, or is it mostly a case of giving the book to the influencer and say, "Hey, go and do your thing and come back with the results"?
Great question. Authors should always prompt influencers in some sort of way, while like giving them broad guidelines while still allowing them creative control, right?
Yeah.
You'd be surprised what people come up with on their own, but there should be some standards that you want them to do, right? You want to make sure that they properly tag you, might use specific hashtags that are related to your specific novel, right? Things that they might not be aware of that you actually understand. And then it's always good to kind of like prompt them with certain ideas, right? Doesn't mean that you need to force them to do one thing, but there's certain trends that are super cool. And this doesn't apply to every single book, but there's a trend called book face, where if you had a novel that had kind of like a part face on it as the graphic, people would put it up to their face, right? And it would be like half their face of the novel, half their face being actually shown, right? And there was funny trends along in the book industry and prompting, and a few of those actually went pretty viral, right? So if you see something that works for your specific niche really well, prompt influencers should do that, kind of give them, push them in the right direction. But when you're doing a seeding campaign or compensating someone with a product, there's only so much you can also force someone to do. And we find it just putting creative control in the hands of the influencers for the most part ends up surprising you. And sometimes you think you know what's going to work really well, but these creators, they do this a lot of times for their full-time gig. So it's like they know what hooks to use, they know what their audience resonates with, and that's what's important at the end of the day, is them being also authentic.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Now, when you're working with influencers, and especially thinking about working with Stack Influence, especially, say it's your first campaign, what sort of budget do you think you should be looking at to put aside to do an influencer campaign?
Great question. So one cool thing about influencer marketing is it's kind of one of the most cost-effective forms of marketing out there. Like, to start running Google ads, yes, or Facebook ads, you can start small, but like you're bidding against a huge amount of other companies that are much larger. And you're only going to drive so many sales. And the beautiful thing of influencer marketing is that you're getting kind of this plethora of value. You're not just getting the performance marketing side of like, I'm driving people seeing my product and so they're going to buy it, right? Which is obviously an important metric and a main reason people do things. But you're also getting this awareness across the board. You're getting your product in the hands of people who actually love it, which just even doing that has a tremendous amount of value. Like, they might talk to their friends about it. They're, again, just real IRL word of mouth marketing in its essence is a value prop. You're getting content. So image and video content, if you have the influencer give you the rights to utilize that content, you can use that on your website as social proof. You can, if you decide to run ads, you can use that in your advertisements, social media, marketing material, you name it. And then potentially you can create these longer term relationships on an affiliate basis with these influencers who are promoting your product on an ongoing basis. Now, going back to your question of how much it costs. Depends on who you're going after. I would always try to budget at least $1,000. And I know for certain brands starting out, that might seem like a lot. If you have time, right, and to put in a bit sweat equity, you can literally get influencer campaigns going for just the cost of your books, right? Like, and you should have books on hand when you're first starting out, unless you're kind of having print on demand through Amazon, et cetera. But make sure you have, if you have zero marketing budget, right? have at least 50 books that you have physical copies of that you can ship out to these influencers. And again, you're going to put in a decent amount of manual effort into this, but start DMing people on Instagram, reaching out to them on TikTok, and seeing if they'd be willing to do a promotion in exchange for just your product, right? You're going to have to manually ship it to them. You're going to have to kind of negotiate a bunch of fees. Not everyone's going to take you up on the offer. You're going to have to, you'll find that some people might steal your product or not do the post on time. You'll run into a few issues along that way, but you can get it done. And you can do that very, very cost effectively.
And could you do it just by shipping the books directly from Amazon? Because I know a lot of authors that I work with are just like print on demand, so they don't have 50 books sitting on a shelf somewhere.
Absolutely. You 100% can do that.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Something that actually we do at Stack Influence is we prompt influencers to actually become a real consumer of a brand before they actually collaborate with them. So, and then reward them once they finish that collaboration, only if they finish that collaboration. So, that way you don't run into that issue. It's actually a more effective tactic than just simply shipping something out to someone, because then you have no recourse if they don't do what you ask them to do, right?
Yeah.
But if they're actually buying a product and then getting monetarily rewarded or giving their money back once they complete that social promotion, now you only pay for something you actually receive.
Yeah. Nice. And so you're talking about that budget of 1,000. I'm guessing that's a reasonably big launch. That would be getting your book in front of quite a few people. Say you wanted to start with something small, and I know you said you can just give a book away for free, but I feel like that's not going to be as popular because a book's not like as valuable as something electronic or, some beauty products or things like that. So what would really be the starting budget that you could start with that would give you a reasonable ROI?
So again, you're going to want to work with people with around 5,000 to 10,000 followers.
Yeah.
And if you're looking to pay them, right, you're looking at $50 to $100 per person. Yeah. Now, if you're going $100, why I say even go with $1,000 starting budget is you want to kind of diversify and test it out. You want to kind of work with at least 10 to see what works and what doesn't, because not every promotion is going to work. And what a lot of people do is they start off with 3 or 2, and you can do that. Absolutely. I mean, you can start off with one person and pay them $100, right? But that might put a bad taste in your mouth, right? And people give up. They're that didn't drive me a single sale. And it was you promoted at the wrong time, you've promoted with the wrong person, and now you kind of gave up on this strategy that was really effective. And that's why I recommend that $1,000. But I will say you will find people who are willing to promote your product or book without getting paid. You may think that there's other products out there that are way more valuable, but the average micro nano influencer promotion, people are willing to do products between usually $15 to $100. So sometimes even promoting products that are too expensive, might not even be worth your while. Because your expenses of shipping them out are quite a lot. So it's just about finding the right person who's the right fit for you, right? And so a strategy around that is find people will tag specific book niches, right? Romance novels, hashtag romance novels, right? It's not just going to be authors tagging that on social media. It's going to be a lot of people who are really interested in this kind of genre. Maybe there's a super popular author in your niche, right? Find people who are tagging that author and see if they're talking about the book.
TikTok or Instagram, that sort of thing. Yeah,
that's exactly right. Yeah. And reach out to them. That's if you and I know starting out as a brand, as an author, you might not have $1,000 to spend. You might not have $200 to spend, right? You might be printing everything on Amazon. You spent kind of all of your money getting things up and going. Your best way to get your feet wet is the product seeding model, right? Because you're at least going to test things out and figure out what works and what doesn't for your brand and for your specific book, because every sort of promotion can be different and certain books work more effectively than others. which is across different products as well. So you want to test the waters before you dive deep, basically.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Now, one thing we talked about just then was ROI and the budget, but what are we tracking to make sure that we are getting a good ROI? And are there particular data points, and also are there any like benchmarks or any good things we should be looking for?
Absolutely. So ROI, again, a lot of people just stick only on the sales ROI side of things on when you're doing an influencer campaign. So people think, okay, I'm going to give away a book. That book is worth $5. I want to make $15, right? And that makes total sense. And there's ways to track that. You can use affiliate links. You can kind of have a link that's either in your bio that you're tagging and having the influencer go through your profile, and you track those sales directly, right? Mm-hmm. Now, there's alternative things that you should absolutely take into consideration when doing an influencer campaign and look at the overall value. Because one thing to realize is that as opposed to running an ad, influencer promotions sometimes aren't just an instant sale. It sometimes takes time for a post to actually get views and be seen. It's not like it goes live and within an hour, if I didn't make any sales, like it was a waste of money, right? Sometimes it can take a week for things to actually even gain traction and gain awareness. So there's a few things that you want to calculate when you're looking at ROI. First, absolutely look at how many sales you drove through a tracking link that was either in your bio or the influencer's bio, et cetera. Yeah. The second metric is, how have your sales gone up over time? Like, is there any organic traffic you're seeing maybe on your website or your Amazon profile, or you name it, right? Is there any way for you to track that and looking at understanding your own metrics of how your book is already getting viewed is also really important. Like, how many people are looking at my social profile? Because there's a lot of halo effects that come from influencer promotions. Third factor is how much you value content, right? It's a hard thing to value, but it's like, what value do you put into a website? What value do you put into a brand, right? And a very simple way is, like, if you are running any online ads, you can very easily integrate content, and you'll quickly see, hey, did this increase my conversions? Did it decrease my ad costs? Sometimes you get an ROI simply from that. The fourth way to track is, did I create any longer term affiliate kind of ongoing relationships with these influencers, right? I gave away a product. Maybe that first promotion didn't drive me any sales, and then they were incentivized to keep promoting. And over a month and a 2-month time frame, they kept promoting my product to their audience, and I drove 20 sales, right? And I gave them a 10% cut from that. So those ongoing benefits. And the final ROI aspect, and this is specifically for online marketplaces like Amazon, is Amazon these days values external traffic strategies for where you're positioned within the marketplace. Amazon's starting out as a marketplace specifically for books. It's very competitive for every single type of book novel, right? And a lot of people think, like, hey, you're going to throw up a book there and 50% of every single consumer in the US is on Amazon. I'm going to become a millionaire. I'm going to instantly like sell out and be a bestseller, right? And just because I have it on Amazon, there's all these people searching on Amazon. So like, I'm going to make a huge amount of money. And the reality is you're competing with about 3,000 sellers who join every single day, right? Yeah, might not be all book sellers, but that's the industry stat of how many people actually join Amazon. Huge amount of competition. The other basic stat is that 75, sometimes people say, depending on what the keyword is, 80% of people don't go past the first page when they search for something. And yes, there's about 40 listings on the first page, right? Yeah. The top 3 listings also generate about 60% of all of the sales for the people who go to the first page, right?
The click-through rate of row 1 is 35%, and it drops to 15 for row 2. That's how big it drops off.
Absolutely. So, and for any given niche, like there might be hundreds of pages, right? Yeah. So it's like when you are first there, you're not shown anywhere and you're not going to make any sales. And so the name of the game there is, how do you position yourself? How do you tell Amazon I'm worthy, right?
Yeah.
And it's a hard solution for Amazon to solve because they call it the cold start problem. It's a risk for Amazon to show you because if no one likes your book, you're not going to make any, like, you're going to be losing Amazon money if they showed you there. But it's also a risk for Amazon not to show you because what if you have the next bestseller and you're going to convert 10 times better than every other listing that's on that first page or in the top 3? So what Amazon does is test you. But why influencer marketing is a fantastic strategy for Amazon growth specifically, and a way to actually calculate your ROI, is influencers are high converting, right? Even if you are promoting to someone with 1,000 followers and they drove 10 people to your listing and 5 of them bought, right? You got a 50% conversion rate. So it might have been a very small amount of people, but you have very trusted promotions. So on average, your conversions are much higher. That is the data Amazon wants to see in order to position you. It's giving Amazon, hey, if you show me are the possible results that we could drive internally because I externally showed you that I'm worthy, basically. And we've seen influencer marketing campaigns like very rapidly get listings to be shown on the first page for keywords, some very high volume search keywords, increase your category positioning. And literally, like, I've seen 15x ROI only on Amazon. And that means like you were doing 100 sales a month, and then all of a sudden you're doing 1,500 sales a month, or like 3,000 sales a month, right? And the reason behind that is like you went from page 50 to page 1, and now all of a sudden you had tens of thousands of people searching for or seeing your listing. And now you're no longer relying on any sort of external traffic marketing. You're no longer relying on PPC ads. You're at that position. And as long as you convert at that new, you could say, plateau, that is a massive ROI. And understanding that as a calculation metric is also a really, really important thing to look at as if you were an Amazon seller or selling your book on Amazon.
Yeah. I love that you said that, because it's one of the things that comes up on this podcast the most is tell people it's so important to make sure you are getting that ranking, and Amazon loves outside traffic because they're basically getting free sales. So they don't have to advertise for it. They don't have to do anything for it. So Amazon really does boost your ranking when you get that. And it's a big impact on the algorithm. So I'm really happy you said that. It kind of backs up things that I've said before.
100%.
Yeah.
The key to it as well is making sure your listing is optimized though. So you can get to it loves external traffic and you'll get to that position, but also a key is to be sticky and stay there. And if you don't have the right keywords, you're not going to be shown in the right places. And you also have to have a highly converting, like, investing graphics, investing content. Another advantage to influencer campaigns is you're going to actually have real social proof, you could say. So do all of the things before you invest in external traffic strategy, but it works wonders.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I know that Stack Influence works slightly differently to other influencer marketplaces. So why don't you give us an overview of like how Stack Influencers works, especially for authors? And if you've got any case studies about successful campaigns, that'd be really helpful too.
Absolutely. So the unique aspect of Stack Influence is we're a marketplace platform. We're not just a SaaS product or a random kind of tool with a database of influencers we've never even connected to, right? We have a dedicated community of hundreds of thousands of influencers who are vetted as part of our platform. They've joined this platform's community and they interact with products that they actually desire. So a lot of other influencer tools, what they did was like they got a massive database of influencer contact info and they act as a way to just outreach to them. So you pay a big monthly fee and they're like, you can reach out to 100 influencers a month, right? But who knows, maybe only one of them responds to you. And that one who responds to you tries to charge you thousands of dollars to do a promotion, right? So there's no guarantees to that system. And I personally used to be an e-commerce seller myself. And how my co-founders and I started Stack Influence was actually building out solutions that we needed for our own brands. And we used all of these different tools, and they were actually decently effective for larger influencer promotions, right? When we were trying to find a very specific person who we were planning to pay like thousands of dollars to, they worked well, because if you're paying thousands of dollars to someone, like, they're going to respond to you. And you need to also use a lot of filtering tools to find the right person so you don't waste all your money. But with the micro nano influencer collaborations, especially product seeding, for every 100 people we reach out to, maybe we only got a response from a handful of them. And out of that handful, only a few of them would be really the right fit for us. And it became this big numbers game. And what we learned was, one, it was hard to scale, but two, it was, when we even found the people, it was really hard to manage, like getting people to buy products, or just even like post on time when we ship them products, communicating value props to them, making sure to analyze the results, track everything. Like, it was a full-time job. And we had hired out like a team of virtual assistants to do this, and we still weren't doing it effectively. And so what we started to build out were these automation tools to really streamline the process, streamline getting people product, streamline the communications, make sure we could use kind of some tools to automatically analyze the important things that we wanted in the social posts once they submitted into our system. And also make sure that we could scale this out. And the best effective way to scale it was kind of developing this dedicated community and giving influencers the option to choose us. So what we did is we built kind of a shopping marketplace ourselves, where influencer, once they're approved, we survey them in different categories. So if you're interested in specific things, you're going to tell us what those specific things are. We're going to also look at your profile, and we're going to kind of make assumptions based off of what things we see. And then we're going to cater a specific, you could say, catalog of products to this person that we believe are going to be the right fit for them. And now we allow them to choose the specific brand that they want to collaborate with. And we don't just kind of force something on them, because maybe we think that they like fiction novels, but because they like had something in their profile, or they were like talking about Dungeons and Dragons in their profile or something, but they actually like were making fun of it, or they weren't actually interested in it, right? And so you can make these assumptions, but unless someone actually gives you some sort of intent themselves, it's hard to determine if they desire something, and if they desire it at a specific moment in time, which is important. And so by having them select products and also become real consumers of the brands themselves, it creates this ideal fit that ensures that the people who are collaborating with a specific brand or a specific book actually desire it, actually want it, and their social promotion is going to be truly authentic and like a real customer testimonial. So in a nutshell, and very high level, to summarize all of that, Stack Influence helps brands automate and scale micro influencer marketing, and does it by simply only gifting products. So a brand can come to us, they can give away products, they can set their goals. Maybe they want 100 influencers, maybe they want 1,000 influencers in a specific time frame. They can upload their specific guidelines, as we discussed, so their guardrails, and then they can sit back, relax, and let the platform do the heavy lifting, while having a system to track the entire process as it progresses. And the last thing, and I know I've been on a little bit of a rant, but a few just results we've seen, like things so have huge amount of success on Amazon and online marketplaces. Again, because you're getting this extra value from external traffic. Not to say that websites don't work, but we have a variety of different case studies going over a bunch of the different tracking metrics I talked about previously, right? Like there's some that only did these types of collaborations for content, and they got a fantastic ROI by increasing. We had one brand that increased their conversions on Facebook ads once running that content by 5x. We had another brand that 8x'd their ROI on Amazon, or the recurring revenue, right? And they ran it one campaign, they got to a higher position within Amazon, and they didn't have to run any more influencer marketing, because once they got there, they actually were a really good book. People loved the book. And they started actually converting on that organic traffic. And then those now internal sales maintained their growth in the long run. And then we've had other brands that got 3x ROI just simply from the social promotions themselves. And brands that have accumulated a community of advocates who were promoting the product in the long run as affiliate marketers, and utilized our system to kind of create that first touch point, that first relationship, and then leverage that. They worked with, I think it was 300 influencers, and ended up getting 50 people who were these really great advocates, and they're still working with them today, who are consistently driving sales in the long run for them, consistently making content, and they're not paying them any extra money besides when they actually drive a sale. They're not also having to send any more product. And the final thing is, in the online ad world, we've had a lot of success with what's called whitelisting ads. So getting influencers to give permission to run advertisements utilizing their own social profile, seeing some amazing results. And we're actually building out some new automation features for that system right now. But,
amazing. And so if people wanted to come to you with their first book and they want to start getting influencers for it, they upload the book to Stack Influence first, and then influencers ask if they can be the front of that campaign, or are you finding influencers through the marketplace?
Great question. So to get started, you can go to stackinfluence.com. At the top right, you can click sign up. This will prompt you to speak with a representative on our team. So the first thing is, we've run thousands upon thousands of different products. Our team now understands what works and what doesn't. So your book may be a fantastic fit for us, and it may not be a fit. And we'll let you know right off the bat. We don't want to waste your time. If we are skeptical at all, we sometimes survey influencers as part of our community before we put it out in front of them. Because again, we're also a guaranteed pay-as-you-go system. So how we charge at Stack Influence is we charge you a flat fee for each successful post. The fee ranges between $20 to $40, depending on the scale that you're doing.
Yeah.
If you don't get a post, you don't pay anything. And if we don't believe it's going to work for our influencers, right, we don't want to put it in front of them, because we want to make sure the products that we put in front of them, they actually really desire. Not to say that your book, no one wants to read it, but it just might not fit the audience and demographics that we currently have in the platform. So we don't want to waste their time. We don't also want to waste your time, right? Because you're going to get your hopes up. You're going to actually spend a bit of time like uploading your product info, setting your goals, speaking with our team, and paying some initial money. And if we don't reach your goals, right, you only pay for what you have achieved in the system, but we still want to achieve your scalability, right? If you want to work with 100 people and we only get you 2 people, yes, you've only paid for 2. You didn't lose money on anything that you didn't achieve, but you might not have got the total reach that you were looking for, right? So we'll be very upfront with you. We'll look at your listings, whether it's a website listing, whether it's a listing on Amazon. We'll give you advice on strategies of growth, how much external traffic you probably need to grow in order to actually see good results. We'll look at your niche, how competitive it is. We don't deal with any Amazon optimization stuff in that world, or any marketplace optimization. Focus on influencer marketing specifically. Yeah. But our team is also very attuned to when things are optimized or not. And again, we want long-term success for our clients. So if you have just thrown up a listing and you have no content and you haven't built out your keywords, like, we're going to tell you to go back to the drawing board and make sure that you have your ducks in a row before you pursue it.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, William. It's been fantastic chatting to you. I mean, it's not too much. I don't know too much about influencer marketing, so I've actually been like scribbling notes down without like looking at the paper. So I just go and read them through afterwards. But it's been great chatting. If people want to get in touch with you, or to get in touch with, more importantly, to get in touch with Stack Influence, where's the best place to go for that?
So best place is simply, again, going to stackinfluence.com. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn at William Gasner. Search my name. Feel free to get in touch with us on any of the social platforms at Stack Influence. We basically have every single one. And yeah, that's the best way. You can also send us an email at contact@stackinfluence.com.
Great. Well, thanks so much for joining the show, and it's been great chatting. We'll speak again soon.
Thanks for having me on, Teddy.
Bye. Thank you so much for tuning into the Publishing Performance podcast. I really hope you found today's episode inspiring. I love chatting to authors, writers, and people in the publishing world. Now, just before we wrap up, let me tell you about Publishing Performance, the #1 platform for authors who want to increase Amazon book sales, but are not really sure where to start. Now, this show is all about helping you to sell more books. And if you're looking to boost your publishing game and to maximize your book's potential on Amazon, then Publishing Performance is designed to help authors just like you to grow your readership and to reach a much wider audience. Now, I know that Amazon ads can be slightly complicated, which is why Publishing Performance is like having a personalized ad account manager to create your ad campaigns, to choose your best keywords, and to make adjustments in real time. Now, if you're investing in ads, you really want to make sure that your investment is being used effectively. And Publishing Performance does just that. It aims to make your budget go further, improve your organic rank, and target keywords more effectively. Just go to publishingperformance.com to get started with Amazon ads for just $1. Thank you so much for tuning into the Publishing Performance podcast. I really hope you found today's episode inspiring. I love chatting to authors, writers, and people in the publishing world. Now, just before we wrap up, let me tell you about Publishing Performance, the #1 platform for authors who want to increase Amazon book sales, but are not really sure where to start. Now, this show is all about helping you to sell more books. And if you're looking to boost your publishing game and to maximize your book's potential on Amazon, then Publishing Performance is designed to help authors just like you to grow your readership and to reach a much wider audience. Now, I know that Amazon ads can be slightly complicated, which is why Publishing Performance is like having a personalized ad account manager to create your ad campaigns, to choose your best keywords, and to make adjustments in real time. Now, if you're investing in ads, you really want to make sure that your investment is being used effectively. And Publishing Performance does just that. It aims to make your budget go further, improve your organic rank, and target keywords more effectively. Just go to publishingperformance.com to get started with Amazon ads for just $1.